What's up? Mazzei Formula, David Mazzei. Thanks for watching my channel. I'm gonna look at the camera, but not a whole lot because I'm driving the car to work right now. And so yeah, a lot of people have been asking me to make these blog videos. They want to hear thoughts. I'm usually not one to talk a whole lot on YouTube and, you know, make a lot of videos discussing things, but just over the years, you know, I've been doing this stuff for 10 years, and there's a few things that I feel like I can share that have helped me that may be able to benefit other people. And at the end of the day, that's the whole point of this channel. It's nice to be able to put content out and have people get excited and entertain people. And it's also cool to see stuff historically, to go back and use it personally as like a journal almost. But it's also nice because you know, I think that people sharing information is the way. You know, I learned how to do things in my life from watching other YouTube videos and contacting, you know, a lot of other RX-7 guys and just, you know, race car people, and they graciously shared information. So in return, you know, I'd love to be able to share things that I think could potentially help out. So I think that one thing I want to talk about that I don't necessarily see being spoken of course, I do see this kind of information in other sectors of the internet, you know, when it comes to like maybe studying for tests or trying to become, you know, something like maybe like weight training or studying or athletics, a lot of those different, or like, you know, trying to find your purpose in starting a company, whatever. You'll see a lot of these motivational things that are out there. But when it comes to building a race car, there's not a whole lot of information, you know, regarding the mentality that you have to get this thing done. So the common thing that I see, and I've seen this since I first started, before I even got started in 2008, 2006. So it was a long time ago. Before I even got started trying to build race cars and do stuff like this, when I had my first RX-7, I remember thinking that, oh man, this stuff is hard. Like, you can't do this unless you have a shop. Okay, you can't do this unless you have employees. You can't do this unless you have a lot of disposable income, unless you have a lot of excessive amount of time and you're retired. Building race cars is for 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, you know, people that have already worked for 20 years and have gotten to a point in their life where they can afford to have the time and the money, you know, and so that's what I always believed. And then I figured, okay, well, if you want to have a car and you want to modify it, the most you need to do is just things that you can finish in a weekend, like maybe put a cold air intake on it, maybe put some coilovers on it, you know, stuff like that. You got to be really very simple, because you can't afford to be down. And, you know, this, I couldn't even imagine in 2006, you know, pulling an engine out of a car and going so far as doing an engine swap and wiring and fuel system and all this stuff. It was unimaginable, the amount of work, and I couldn't see it happening. And the reason why I say that is because I've seen a lot of people tear their cars down, you know, and have parts all over the garage, order a lot of expensive, cool things, have a lot of ambition, a lot of drive, be very motivated from the beginning, love these cars, and then get into it, ends up taking them months and months and months, and then the more time that they're working on that car that it's not running because it's down, the more they're getting demotivated, the more they're getting kind of mentally distant from their goal and from their objective, and the less they're emotionally connected to that goal and that objective and those desires. And then what happens is, because you're emotionally disconnected, you're no longer as interested in the project anymore. Things just kind of like dissipate. Like it just kind of dissipates off. The energy kind of goes away, and these people end up getting, you know, not burned out, but they found other things in their lives, and then they end up selling the car. And then ultimately, when you sell the car and you sell the project and you part it out, you're never going to get as much money as you could have had if it was running. Not even close to as much money as you could have if it was running. And that's a reciprocating. That's something I see all throughout the community. Is people go too big sometimes, and end up losing the enjoyment or the drive. Things come up in life. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. It's just like, I think it's best for people to start out in bite sizes, you know, do things that you know you can immediately do. Put an exhaust system on a car, and then you can bolt that thing on in a weekend. Maybe it takes you a week if you have some seized bolts and you got to fix something. And then you can get in the car and drive it and enjoy it and experience it. And you get a little reward from that, and you get more motivated from that, right? Then you come back and do the coilovers, and you come back and do the brakes, you know, slowly chipping away at it. And that's going to build your confidence and teach you to believe in yourself and that you know you can do these things. Now, when you're ready to go and tackle a big project and you say, hey, look, I'm going to build, you know, a 600, 700 horsepower car, and we're going to do a full engine rebuild, and these pistons and this heads and these studs and all those things. I'm going to put a differential transmission, clutch, all these things. When people are naming out these lists and you're running this stuff through your head about these things that you want to do to your project, okay, keep in mind, everything that you're saying takes time to ship, time to be built, has to be stocked, has to come from a certain place, must send you the correct part, okay? Now, that's one part of it. Then, those parts have to be installed. It has to make sure everything fits correctly. Sometimes things are going to be broken. Every part that you're talking about doing takes hours, okay? So when you list out this whole entire build, and in your mind it seems really simple, okay, you're not accounting for the fact that, or most people, okay, are not going to account for the fact that that is a lot of time. Not only is a lot of time, it's a lot of space. Not only is it a lot of space, it's a lot of money. So whatever you think in your head that you're going to do, take the amount of time that you're accounting for, multiply it by 2. So whatever you think it's going to take you time-wise, it's going to take you at least twice as long. Whatever you think it's going to take you cost-wise, it's going to take you at least twice as long. You have to go into this shit with the mindset that things are going to go wrong. Okay? Basically, anything and everything that can go wrong is going to happen to you. And the objective is to solve the problems as they arrive. You just continue to solve problems. You're never going to go into a build and put it together like you see it in your head, like what your friends are talking about, like the way the internet makes it seem. It's never going to be that way. When you get started, you're going to be frustrated. You're going to have problems. People aren't going to answer the phone. Parts are not going to show up. Okay? You're going to deal with problems with vendors, problems with friends, problems with the place that you're storing the car, problems with being able to install parts correctly, problems with tools breaking. Like, you're going to have lots of problems in a lot of different avenues, okay? Pretty much every aspect of that car, especially when you're doing a full-on build like this. And the only way you're going to be able to handle it is to take each problem one step at a time and treat those problems as lessons, not as detriments to your life. You cannot let them bust your balls, okay? These problems are simply motivators, okay? So you come to, you know, a fork, and you have to make a decision, okay? You can't get hung up on, oh, well, I don't know if I should go with these bearings or these bearings, and everyone is telling me on the internet that I need to go with the really expensive ones, but all I can afford is the economical ones, and I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to sit here and debate about it. No, like, those are the biggest issues. People getting hung up on expectations for themselves and other people, okay? You just have to make sure you continue to execute, and you take each problem when it comes along, and you just solve it. You do whatever you can to solve it. And if you fail, you get back up and you try again. So it's just like starting a company. It's just like being an entrepreneur, except it's even worse because you're not going to get paid. So you're responsible for your destiny. You're responsible to make this thing work. And here's the thing. If you're going to spend, you know, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 on a project car, and you're going to put the time in and the effort in to do it, okay? You've spent that $40,000, $50,000. You've got all these parts sitting at your shop. You've got a badass turbo engine, whatever it is that you're trying to do, okay? Looks great, sounds great, awesome to talk about, cool content to make videos about, but let me tell you the truth. It's not worth anything until that car actually runs. You know? Now, it might be worth something, but you're never going to get your money back until you make that vehicle actually perform. So it's up to you to stay motivated. The bigger piece that you bite off, the more you have to keep your mind focused. You have to be willing to think good thoughts. You have to be responsible for your thoughts. You have to expect problems. You have to lower your expectations of how things will work. And be willing to diligently push through this stuff. You have to be willing to see that life, you have to buy your life back. If you're going to spend $40,000 building a race car, okay, it's going to take you hours and hours and hours to get it done. You're going to have to work on Friday nights. You're going to have to work on Sunday nights. You're going to be busy when everyone else is hanging out. You're going to get 4 hours, 5 hours of sleep sometimes, okay? Friends are going to come and go. Not everyone's going to want to be there hanging out with you while you're, putting boring parts on a car that doesn't run yet, and people are going to pop up when you're finishing. I mean, that's just the way that it's going to go. And if you can't accept the lifestyle change that's necessary to see something like this out, then you have no business doing it. Because let me tell you what, you're going to end up losing money. All the money and time invested in that project is worth nothing, in my opinion, if you don't finish it. So go into this thing thinking there's no way I'm going to fail, because I'm expecting that things are going to be harder. I'm expecting that things are going to take longer. I'm expecting that it's going to cost me twice as much money. I'm expecting that I can't depend or rely on anyone but myself. And I'm going to treat this like a business. And I'm going to give this my undivided attention and most amount of discipline and efficiency. Every day, I'm going to apply the 1% rule. And I'm going to say, I will be 1% better than I was the day before. Okay? And if I can't afford the best of the best, at least I'm executing. At least I'm going to get things done. Number one goal, get the car rolling, get the car running, get the car driving. Doesn't matter what your parts are, doesn't matter what your goals are, doesn't matter how much horsepower you want to make, doesn't matter how fancy your drivetrain is. Number one goal, get the car running. If it's not running, it's not worth anything. Okay? You can always upgrade. You can always put better brakes. You can always put better bearings. You can always put better whatever. You can always paint the car. You can always put new safety equipment in the car. I mean, you can always do something, but you can't always get the car running. You can only get the car running if you have dedicated the time and the mindset to doing so. So, guys, be smart, be diligent, and believe in yourself. And you can get this stuff done. So that's my video right there. My morning video as I'm, drinking my coffee, driving to work, and thinking about, what I'm going to do today when I get off work to go work on the car. Process, man. It's a process. Develop a process of working. It's just like going to the gym, okay? You go to the gym because you have to train an hour a day. Whatever. Work on the car because you have to work on it an hour a day. That's the kind of routine you got to be in. Doesn't matter what the problems are. Doesn't matter where you are in the progress. Just know that if you want to build cars, or you have a project you want to work on, and you seriously want this thing to get done, hour a day. That's it. Or more. Or more. It's a long-term progression. And, once you're committed, you don't stop. Because if you put 2,000 hours into a project, you haven't got it running yet, and you decide to quit, what was the point of those 2,000 hours, man? You just wasted a lot of time in your life where you could have been taking a class, learning a language, doing something productive, meeting new people, and you spent all this time, working on a project that you didn't finish. Okay? So, quit telling me what you're going to do and how fast your car is going to be and how badass it's going to be. Quit telling me what parts I should have gotten, and get your ass to work and get your shit done, because I want to see you out there driving your car and being happy. That's what I want to see. That's what motivates me as well. So, love you guys. Thanks for following. Got more videos.